Emily barely slept that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to Mark's steady breathing beside her. His suspicion had been clear. He hadn't pressed further, but she knew the first crack had formed. The lie was no longer safe. The next morning, her phone buzzed. A message from Richard: lunch. My office. Lock the door behind you. Her heart jumped. She told herself to ignore it, to choose her marriage. But before her mind could catch up, her fingers typed back, yes. At noon, she walked into Richard's office, her heels clicking against the polished floor. He was waiting, leaning against his desk, jacket off, tie loose, eyes burning into hers. Without a word, he closed the blinds. When she turned the lock on the door, something inside her gave way. What followed wasn't work, wasn't business, wasn't anything a boss and employee should share. By the time she left, smoothing her hair in the hallway mirror, she felt like a woman carrying fire beneath her skin. The weeks blurred together. Emily lived in two worlds: the attentive wife who sat at dinner with Mark, listening to him talk about his endless projects, and the secret lover who surrendered stolen hours to Richard's dangerous charm. She told herself she deserved this. That she wasn't hurting anyone. After all, Mark barely noticed her anymore. If he couldn't give her the attention she craved, why shouldn't she take it elsewhere? But the guilt never disappeared completely. Sometimes, when Richard kissed her neck and whispered that she belonged to him, her wedding vows echoed in her mind. And sometimes, when Mark brushed past her in the kitchen without looking up, she wanted to scream that she wasn't invisible. One Friday evening, Richard invited her to join him on a weekend business trip to Houston. No one will suspect a thing, he assured her. We'll say you're managing the presentation. Emily hesitated. Mark will ask questions. Tell him it's work. That's not even a lie. His hand slid down her arm, his voice low. Don't you want more than scraps, Emily? Don't you want to feel alive all weekend instead of for an hour here and there? The temptation overwhelmed her. She said yes. That weekend was unlike anything she'd known in years. They checked into a luxury hotel under the guise of business, but once the door closed, nothing about it was professional. They dined at expensive restaurants, shared wine by candlelight, laughed like reckless lovers who didn't care about tomorrow. For 2 nights, Emily forgot she had a husband. She lived only in Richard's world, where desire consumed everything. But Monday came. And with it, reality. Mark was waiting at home, unusually quiet. He looked at her suitcase, then at her. How was Houston? He asked flatly. Exhausting, she lied, forcing a yawn. All work. He didn't argue. He didn't accuse. But the look in his eyes told her he didn't believe her. The following week, Emily felt the shift. Mark started checking her phone when she left it on the counter. He asked more questions about her schedule. Once, she caught him staring at her with a sadness she couldn't face. Still, she kept going back to Richard, like an addict who couldn't stop even while knowing the crash was inevitable. Richard, on the other hand, seemed emboldened by the risk. He texted her late at night, whispered things in her ear at the office that made her cheeks burn. He didn't seem worried about Mark, or anyone else. One night, tangled in the sheets of Richard's downtown condo, Emily whispered, "I'm scared. Mark is starting to notice." Richard kissed her shoulder lazily. "Let him. He's not giving you what you need." "I am, but..." "No buts." He turned her face toward his. "You're mine now. Don't forget that." The possessiveness in his voice both thrilled and frightened her. She had wanted passion, excitement, a reason to feel alive again. But with each passing day, the line between love and control, between desire and danger, grew thinner. At home, Mark grew colder. He stayed late at work. He spoke little at dinner. Sometimes, he slept in the guest room. Emily knew he was slipping away, but instead of pulling her back, it pushed her further into Richard's arms. Then, one evening, everything changed. Emily came home to find Mark sitting at the kitchen table. But this time, his phone wasn't in his hand. A printed sheet of paper lay in front of him. "I went through the phone records," he said, his voice steady, though his hands trembled. "You've been calling him. Texting him. Don't lie, Emily." "I know." Her stomach dropped. Words tangled on her tongue. She tried to reach for him, but he pulled back. His eyes were glassy, full of pain. "Why him?" he whispered. "Why your boss?" Emily opened her mouth, but no excuse came. Because the truth was ugly. Because she had been lonely. Because Richard made her feel alive. Because somewhere along the way, she had stopped believing her husband saw her at all. Tears blurred her vision. "Mark, He stood, shaking his head, and walked away before she could finish. Emily sank into the chair, trembling, the weight of her choices crushing her. She had wanted more than scraps, and now she had set fire to everything. Upstairs, in the pocket of her coat, her phone buzzed. A message from Richard: "Can't stop thinking about you. My place tonight." Emily closed her eyes, trapped between two lives.